think the barriers are from all directions, that whole set of barriers, and some of them come from the Christian community, I think. Again, that I don't think the Christian community has really taken seriously the first few chapters of Genesis. I mean, they feel they're taking the first few chapters of Genesis very, very seriously, when actually, if you look at traditional creation theology, if you go back to the early church fathers, I mean, they never took the early chapters of Genesis in a literalistic way, in a sort of scientific way, as if it's a scientific text or something like that. And so I think we need to rediscover how the early church fathers handled the early chapters of Genesis in a figurative way, and they saw it as a very basic foundational truths, for the whole of the Christian gospel, and that's very, very important. But they didn't take it in a wooden, literalistic kind of way. And I think that wooden literalism has come about through modernity and through actually the influence of science. And in a way, it's a very modernistic understanding of the text, which is quite alien to the original authors. And so it's an example where actually people are allowing the science to shape their interpretation of texts, which is, I think, quite inappropriate. I think science should be doing that sort of job. They weren't writing from a scientific background. And after all, scientific literature didn't actually exist at the time when the Bible was being written. So to sort of take it as scientific literature, I think, is abusing the text. And the trouble there is we actually miss what the inspired author has to say to us. So I think there are barriers coming from a modernistic framing of the biblical text in a way that's not helpful. But there are other barriers, of course, coming from the atheist lobby. We've got new atheists proclaiming very loudly that Darwin is an icon of atheism, and if you believe in evolution, you can't also believe in God and that kind of thing. And I think that's an unnecessary kind of rhetoric, really. And we should just simply pull the rug from under that kind of view by pointing out, that once you accept a traditional Christian understanding of creation, then all we discover as scientists and all we describe is part of that whole narrative of God's created order. So Augustine said nature is what God does, and so if we're investigating nature, we can only investigate what God does.